God's evolving this intuition within all of us so we have an appreciation for the universe we come from. God's evolving this intuitive sense so we have an appreciation for the God that we are, that we come from, that we're a piece of. It's a good thing. But in order for it to be developed as a sense of consciousness, it's a sense of consciousness. It's not a physical sense. It's a sense of consciousness that has a view into the physical reality, but it also has a view into spiritual reality and dimensional reality and a lot of other things that we can't sense. It makes our world so much what? Bigger. And as it does that, it makes us as individuals feel so much what? Smaller, which means if you have a high sense of self-interest, you're going to resist having intuition because it makes you feel what? Small. But as it makes you feel small, it also lets you know that you're a part of something bigger.
Doesn't that make us bigger?
That makes, of course it makes us bigger, but it makes us bigger with less matter. It makes us lighter. Makes us less dense. And the bigger we are, the more spread out our matter is, which, let's take our analogy, look at all the matter in space, and look how much space there is around all the matter. We need to move more in that direction. There's more space. And when there's more space and there's less density, how much easier is it for things to move around? Easier. How much faster can things change? Faster. If I want to walk from here to there and there's nobody in my way, okay, I can do it. If I want to walk from here to there with all of you here, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me self-interest, excuse me fear, excuse me anger, excuse me low self-esteem, excuse me religion, excuse me whatever, okay? It's okay, you'll get there, but there's a lot of excuse me's going on all the time, you know? With intuition, it just opens up the space. So even if you want to continue to believe in religion, all right, okay, well, religion's over there, all right? But there's a lot of space. And then, diet's over there or whatever. There's space to move around your beliefs when you begin to be intuitive, okay? So even people who want to continue to believe in a specific religion, that's what I talk about in the chapter. Believe in it intuitively. Put it in the proper perspective. Don't make that personal belief so what? Big. It doesn't mean it's not important if it's small. We're not unimportant because we're small. We're very important to God. That's why God's order is directing everything going on in our cells and our particles. That's pretty important. So to make something smaller doesn't mean you're making it unimportant. It just means you're putting it in a proper perspective that lets you have a greater balance in being a part of something bigger. And I truly, truly believe, as I meditated and gave great reflection on why did we develop all these religions? Why did humanity feel the need to develop it? Well, they're coping mechanisms. Why did we develop coping mechanisms? Well, they're not bad. They kept us in line when we were tending more to kill some people. And some people still are. And I'm not saying that religion isn't a good thing to keep some people in line. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. My point is that we developed these things because events were happening beyond our comprehension, and we were freaked out, and we wanted something to give us some level of safety and control, even though it was an illusion, that we could do something about it. We could pray. But how much prayer, and again, no, this is I'm speaking from enlightenment, not judgment. How much prayer is honestly self-interest? How much of what people are praying for, and I don't think I'm making an assumption here. I think it's pretty, they're praying for what they want, what they hope. And I'm not saying everyone prays that way. I think a lot of people pray for the greater good, and they hold a good intention. But in general, when you look at what religion came from, it came from, here's something you can do to believe you're making a difference in something that's beyond your comprehension. It was like a very initial attempt at intention. But it got encapsulated, you see, and it encapsulated people's intention. And that's why I'm very boisterous. Boisterous, is that the right word, boisterous? That's not the right word, is it? Is it boisterous? Yeah, about helping people not stay trapped in religion. That don't ever let anything that is small keep your intention small. That when your intention is seeing the world in a way that doesn't always go along with your religion, then move your religion to a place where you can have benefit from it and let your intention become something bigger. You can still use your religion as a tool in the world, but let your intention, let God take you, let God decide. Please, let God decide. And don't believe religion is God. Because I don't see, a cross out in the middle of the universe, and I don't see, the Sanskrit sign out in the universe, and I don't see any of those things written in the stars the last time I checked. I see galaxies that are spirals and shapes. I see geometry. I see math. I see amazing divinity. So it's bigger than what you've known. And being intuitive just lets you finally feel sane about admitting that. And when you admit that, you realize that the way you were living was insane. It was waiting to fall apart. And you were putting so much energy into trying to keep the density of it together when really it just needs to go poof. And so now that I don't spend any energy in my life trying to keep it together, I get to enjoy it constantly falling apart. Okay? And then coming together and falling apart, and coming together and falling apart, and coming together and falling apart. And that coming together and falling apart is what we now call life and death. That's all life and death is. Something coming together, something falling apart. Something coming together, something falling apart. It's not personal. There's nothing personal about death. Things are coming together, things are falling apart. When has that not been the case? But when you look at life from a place of self-interest, it's impossible to get to that point of peace with life and death, isn't it? It's impossible. Because when you're thinking about the natural course of things coming together and things falling apart, who are you thinking it in who are you framing it within? Well, what's that going to do to my life? Well, what's that going to take from my family? Well, what's that going to bring me? That's a very frustrating place to be with something beyond your comprehension. It's not about you. Things are coming together and falling apart. Universes are coming together and falling apart. Universes, galaxies are coming together and falling apart, guys. You are a microcosm of that macrocosm. For your little cells, you are a universe. Okay? So let's go small now, all right? Does everyone see going big and how self-interest doesn't work? Okay? Let's go small. And I want to and I know there's atoms and quarks and all that stuff, but let's stay relevant. Let's stay relevant. We all have little cells in our body. We all know that. Does everyone not know that? We have little cells in our body. They make up everything in our body. We have all different kinds of cells, okay? And they live and they die. Red blood cells live 120 days. 120 days. Isn't that something? 120 days. Now we may say, boy, it's not that long. Well, yeah. You think 80 years is long? Welcome to being a little red blood cell, everybody. This is living intuitively. This is the reality of it. They live 120 days. And there's other cells too. Macrophages, white blood cells. They can live 4 days. 4 days. Here and gone in 4 days. They're doing what's in the highest good. Those red blood cells, they're being born, they're developing, they're carrying oxygen. They're doing that, they're taking it all over the body, and boom, after 120 days, give or take, they're gone. They're not wondering, why is it my turn? Okay? Unless, and I'll talk about this next, unless you're interfering. Okay? When you're not living in that space of letting things happen, you're interfering with the natural cycle of life and death of things. You are stagnating. Okay? You're sending a mixed message. They are created by God. They are created by the force of truth. They are meant to follow that. Okay? When you start living in a way that's contra to that, you are sending confusing messages to the cells of your body. When you start telling them that life is dangerous and that things are out to get you and that there's something bad's going to happen and you live in those spaces, you're dictating to those cells that they are living in a universe that is not what? Not safe. That's going to make them die before their time, or it's going to make them try and live too long. Or it's going to make them believe that they're not doing the right thing. That they're not good enough the way they are. Okay? And when cells don't believe they're good enough the way they are, they start trying to become something else. And when they start trying to become something else, what do they become? Cancer. What makes them do that? What flicks those switches? Well, you can believe in it on any level. A lot of times there's chemical toxicities. There's a lot of physical reasons. But we've addressed a lot of those. We want to eat good food. We want to eat lots of fruits and vegetables. We want to detox our bodies. But we're also looking at it from a universal, from aligning our God power with the God power here over our body and saying, you know what? I don't want to have anything to do with how cells are working. And I'm doctor. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I want to give it what it needs. I want to focus on what I'm supposed to learn. I want to let them listen to God, and I don't want to give them any signals. I want to tell them that they're loved, it's great, life is all working out the way it's supposed to, there's reason and purpose for everything, even if it's your time to die, little red blood cell, that you were a good red blood cell and you just need to let it go. So what kind of God are you being to these little cells? What message are you sending them? Albert Einstein said one thing that was really profound, and my brother reminded me of it. One of the most important choices you're ever going to make is deciding whether you live in a good or a bad universe. Do you live in a universe that's predominantly doing something good, or do you live in a universe that's bad and is trying to hurt you? It's one of the most important choices you make. Now, is that a choice for anyone in this room anymore? No. And that's one of the first choiceless surrenders I talk about in the book. So does that start to give everybody a perspective on how to live intuitively a little bit? Some things to consider, some things to reflect on. Does it give you some food to kind of start processing, okay, this is how I can start practicing this? The first thing you start with is, I don't know, but it's good. Because you can't screw anything up. When you say, I don't know what's going on, but I'm assuming it's good, and it'll make sense at some point. You can't screw anything up when you live that way. That's why I highly, highly prescribe it. And you know what? If I'm living that way and for whatever reason, you know what? I drop and it's my time. You know what? It's my time, and it was my 120 days at the red blood cell. And you know what? I had a great ride, and I delivered all that I could deliver, and it was just my time to go. And I don't put an age on that. I wouldn't think that it was wrong if it were at 45 instead of at 95. I'm not trying to accomplish anything with longevity. I'm all about being present.